So with that, let's jump into the agenda. So what we're going to talk about today, we'll start out really explaining why we believe MSPs are the future of cybersecurity, right? Why they're so essential to all of the businesses around the world who are dealing with the virulent threat landscape, right? We'll talk about 5 ways that you can automate MSP security with things like RMM tools, PSA tools, the things you're using probably already today, and how you can use those within the security framework to be more effective. And then Manu will run us through about a 20-minute demo showing you how WatchGuard is integrating with some of these tools, what that means from an efficiency and automation standpoint, and how you can leverage some of that today. And then on the back end of the presentation, we'll talk a little bit more in detail about why WatchGuard is a great fit for MSPs and how we're integrating with some of these tools that you love and rely on, and what that looks like going into the future. And we'll leave a little space for some question and answer as we go. So with that, let's get started. So why MSPs are the future of cybersecurity? This is something that WatchGuard believes very fundamentally. If you're not familiar with WatchGuard, if this is your first webinar with us, one thing I want you to understand right off the bat is we are 100% channel 100% of the time. We sell all of our solutions through our dedicated channel partners who are experts and have great relationships with their customers. And we think this is really essential to delivering cybersecurity really into the future, specifically when we talk about those smaller market SMB, SME organizations who don't want to stand up their own security teams, who are light-handed on IT expertise, right? This is why we think the managed security services is really taking hold and starting to grow. And I have some statistics in front of you on this first slide here, really explaining that in detail, right? Today, 91% of global cybersecurity spending goes through the channel. So there's a tremendous amount of volume just being pushed through the channel. And over 55% of organizations are already outsourcing some or a portion of their cybersecurities to an MSP, to an MSSP, right? So there's starting to be this traction of organizations understanding it's just easier to sort of pivot those more complex requirements in cybersecurity off to an expert organization like your own. And 44% of organizations cite insufficient cybersecurity expertise as their top barrier, right? So this really speaks to this idea that, right, to run a security services operation, you need to have a bit of expertise behind the scenes, and they're just not comfortable competing for that expertise, investing in that expertise, and they would rather rely on a channel partner like yourselves, a managed service provider, to actually provide that function. And you can see on the right-hand side, the total addressable market by channel type has dramatically increased for those MSPs, MSSPs when it relates to cybersecurity. It's gone up about 12% since 2021, and we expect that trajectory to continue and continue. So we'll see even greater consumption by the MSS market. So what's driving this, right? And you probably know all of these things. You've seen these things, you experience these things yourself, right? Increasing cyber threats. Every day there's a new headline about a cyber breach, an organization that's fallen victim to attacks, some personal information, things exposed on the internet, right? That's coupled with that skills scarcity that I was just talking about, right? There's not enough cyber experts available in the workforce out there to fill all the roles and all the needs that exist in these organizations. And then tool sprawl and vendor consolidation. I'll dig into each one of these in a little bit more detail, but that's starting to be a real challenge for organizations who have been in business, specifically several years, right? Where they might have built out their infrastructure, grown, changed, evolved, opened new locations, right? And as they've done that, it's really led to an explosion of the number of tools they're using across their whole environment. And then things like regulatory compliance and cyber insurance. There's increasingly requirements on your customers that they comply with certain compliance requirements, right? That they have certain levels of security in place to be eligible for cyber insurance. And really managed security providers can help navigate some of those challenges, right? And that's why we see really a trajectory where the managed security market will reach around $67 billion by 2020 or by 2030 here. So it's going to be an aggressive growth, and there's a tremendous opportunity for each one of your organizations to grab hold and take advantage of that growth. And so if we dig into each one of these in a little bit more detail, right, we talk about too many threats, too few people, right? We see this every year when we see the reports out of IBM, Verizon, right, their threat landscape reports showing just the impact of these attacks, right? IBM last year estimated the cost of a breach is around $4.4 million, right? They also found that it took around 241 days for the average organization to be able to identify and contain a breach. That means threat actors are lingering in that environment for almost a full year, right? And so that's a real concern and really speaks to the lack of capability in some of these organizations. And then finally, speaking to the too few people, there's about a gap of around 4.8 million people globally when it comes to cyber skills. And so you're competing across all of these different markets for those cyber expertise, right? And if you look on the right-hand side, just a little bit of a capture of, you know, how organizations themselves feel about their current, you know, staffing levels. Very few actually feel like they have too much cyber staff. In fact, most organizations feel like they have slight shortage or a significant shortage in cyber staff today. And so 63% of them feel that way. So you probably might be feeling that yourself. And that's why this idea of automation and efficiency is so important. And just to talk about complexity and tool sprawl, you know, I touched on this earlier, but we see an organic growth of the technology in our organizations, not just security tools, but all of the various applications and things we need to run our business. And as that process has gone forward, we see very often customers add around 47 security tools and have around 10 vendor relationships that they have to manage. And what that leads to is a fragmented visibility and control, right? Operational drag. It's just that much more difficult to understand where you should prioritize, how you can respond. You know, you're very often having to jump from one tool to another to make sense of a single incident, right? And this leads to things like slow response. That's why you're seeing 241 days of dwell time in these organizations. It's because there's all of these gaps within these various security tools that are being used. And obviously this speaks to cost inefficiency. If you're having to manage this environment as a customer or as an MSSP yourself, maybe you're providing all these tools and having to manage across your various clients, that becomes very inefficient from a cost perspective. And ultimately, the real burden falls on your team, right? Your organization or your customer's team that has to manage all of these products, right? You need to have skill sets across each one of these security layers. You need to know how to use the tools, be familiar with the interface to be really effective. And that really drives a lot of strain on organizations that you're serving and that your organization as well. And I just want to say, you know, there's a real opportunity around managed security, and hopefully you saw that with the market growth. But this opportunity is really going to be seized by organizations from a security perspective that make the effort to mature how they go about delivering security, right? There's increasing investment in security and skill, and the potential return increases as you really go up in your maturity level, right? So in this top tier, right, you're a security owner who has a dedicated practice. It's the core of what you do as a provider, right? That's where you're going to see better return, better margins, better MRR over time, right? And on the lower tier, you know, these are organizations where they're providing those basic break fix types of services, basic security overlay, right? Higher dependence on security vendors, right? A lot less maturity here, and therefore they're not going to have the same level of margins and opportunity here. And so part of what we want you to understand in this process and in this webinar is that we at WatchGuard can really help you evolve and mature up to that security owner position, so you can really take a bigger chunk of this pie and seize the opportunity in front of you. And so what does that look like? That starts with standardizing process. We'll talk about some of those tools and how we standardize in RMM and PSA through the presentation. There's also standardizing your stack. So you're not jumping across 40 tools, 10 vendor relationships, having to learn all this technology, right? It's a standardized stack with a standardized delivery model and user interface that makes it much more efficient for your team to use. And then things like standard packaging, how you offer these services to your market. And really, if you go through this process of maturing in these areas, that's how you drive that profitable growth and that durable growth in your business. And so now let's talk about 5 ways to automate MSP security, right? And we really want to talk about RMM and PSA tools today specifically. And so one of the first ones that is very important is this idea of event-to-ticket automation, right? This idea that we can take the security signals that we're getting from these various tools and make them actionable using actionable in our PSA tool, right? And also have the ability to automatically update and avoid that duplicate effort, right? And so what do we mean here? We're automating ticket creation, the enrichment of the ticket, putting more context into that ticket, right? The deduplication of those tickets, threading them together so it's one narrative. We're automating the routing and helping escalate signals and providing an audit trail for across this whole event to ticket process, right? And so we can create tickets in the PSA automatically with the correct customer, site, category, priority, all the details you need, right, being pulled from your security tools into your PSA. And the outcome here is faster response, fewer missed alerts, right, just much more efficient delivery of security using that PSA tool that you're already using today. Anything you'd add there, Manu?
No, we will show you this in the demo in a few minutes. Totally agree with your previous slides, Stephen. I mean, MSPs are crucial at this moment, right? A security first approach in our partners is crucial to protect the customers, right? And this is part of the demo as well, right? So.
Absolutely, yeah. Okay, great. The second thing, really focusing on automation, is this idea of closed loop ticketing, right? I mean, you can create a workflow within your PSA that really takes you from detection to resolution and builds the record automatically, right? And that it starts with a really rich contextual first touch, right? Where you get all of that information out of your security tools fed into the PSA, and then it starts to enrich and thread and bring these things together into this ticket, right? And what we can do is make these updates operational. So we can see severity changes. Let's say a threat comes in and then we get another indicator that escalates it. We can monitor and track those things. We can monitor and track our containment and mitigation milestones. So did we contain the threat, and how long did it take us to do that? And what does the resolution look like? We can also close with a story already written, right? We have a very clear timeline, all the actions taken, the evidence, and the final disposition brought together in this real streamlined closed loop ticket, right? Again, within that PSA tool you already use. And that's really important. Again, as you have all these security layers, to have this done in a way that's efficient, gives you all the context you need, but doesn't require you to jump from tool to tool to really make sense of it and make it usable. Renewals and billing, right? This is obviously something that's a challenge for many organizations. It's about keeping your assets and your subscriptions really aligned in a single source of truth, right? You don't want to have to track certain licenses on this tool and others in your PSA, right? And so again, by integrating with a tool like WatchGuard Cloud, we can sync device inventory from our security stack. We can reconcile all of those inventories and those asset inventories, so technicians have a very strong sense of the current state that they're dealing with. We can even use it to drive renewals. Using that upcoming expirations, we can understand, who needs to be, we need to touch, reach out to, and say, hey, we need to do a renewal on this product, where there may be some gaps in their security stack, where there's an opportunity potentially to introduce more capabilities. And you can do some standardization, right, that makes it just that much more efficient for doing things like quoting and invoicing across some of your renewal opportunities. And the ultimate goal here is that you're replacing a lot of that manual reconciliation and making the PSA that operational source of truth, right? And that's a really important part as you expand and offer more security services, as you offer different, more complex packages, right? Having something that automates this and streamlines it for you is very, very important.
Yeah, my only comment here, Stephen, is that automating is also less prone to issues, right? So apart from benefit from less manual work, right, it's less prone to issues, which is important as well, right? We will see that in the demo as well, right? So
fantastic, yeah. All right, and then asset management, right? So With WatchGuard Cloud, we can automatically synchronize all of the devices, whether your firebox, your access points, all the asset information of those devices, things like the model, the serial number, the firmware version, right? All those basic things that you'd want to know about these devices, like their subscription start date and end date. How long has this customer had it deployed? When's the opportunity you want to reach out and touch them, as I was just saying, right? And so this is automatically fed into the PSA asset management system from the security stack here at WatchGuard. So we make that, again, much easier. All right. And then finally, we've talked a lot about the PSA tools and the capabilities there, obviously very important, but also RMM tools, increasingly important, right? We can use RMM tools to deploy and maintain our endpoint agents for our WatchGuard endpoint security tools, as well as our other endpoint components in our security stack that help us deliver other services. And what's nice about this is by using the RMM tool that you're already familiar with, you can make this process that much more repeatable. You can make automations behind the scenes to have automatic installs for new devices and really avoid some of the gaps that could open up when you expand devices or add new devices in your environment. And we can even do things like verify installs and monitor the health of the actual endpoint agents themselves. And it just helps us enforce some of those coverage baselines, right? And what we really encourage you to do is make that RMM the primary console, right, for endpoint security, right? This delivers that more consistent, fewer errors, and allows your technicians to be that much faster and as they're dealing with a lot of these endpoint solutions, right? You get the ability to standardize a workflow, again, in that RMM tool that you're familiar with, keep that investigations, those actions moving forward using that ticket flow, and then auto-document those actions in the RMM tool themselves to eliminate those re-entry challenges. So these are some of the things that Manu's going to walk you through in the demo here over the next couple of minutes. With that, I think I'll pass it to you, Manu.
Awesome, Stephen. So let me share my screen to do the demo. All right. Can you see my screen?
Yep, we see it.
Perfect. So, I mean, we have. I want to show you. I want to focus this demo on the integrations we have built as part of the unified security platform, where we integrate our board portfolio, right? So you know that in a unified security platform, all our products are integrated, right? But we understand that managing our board portfolio is not enough, right? I mean, partners, it's MSPs. We know that you use other tools to manage security, to deliver security services in an efficient way, to manage the software that you have on the endpoints with the RMN tools, with the remote monitoring and management tools. So we have invested a lot in different integrations, and we want to focus the demo today on RMN and PSA integrations, right? We also have more than 140 other integrations that you can see here in our partner portal, right? In our partner ecosystem. But the focus of the demo today will be in the RMN integrations and PSA integrations, right? So we support the integration with ConnectWise RMN, with ConnectWise Automate, with Enable and Central, with Enable Inside, with NinjaOne and Kaseya BSA. These are 6 of the most important RMN tools out there. But I mean, if you are using any other tool or if you have any other feedback, please share in the chat, right? In the questions and answers section, right? And I want to show you one of the integrations we have. So I have here Enable and Central, right? You know, I need to give me a second because I need to add my password. You know that I mean, the remote monitoring and management tool, you are already using them to manage all the software that you install in your endpoints, to monitor all the software in servers, in laptops, in computers. And of course, you also want to manage and monitor the endpoint security solutions or other security solutions we are selling, right? And this is exactly what we did with the remaining integrations, right? So here, if you go to active users in Enable Central, right, in the status, when there is any issue with the endpoint security solutions or any other WatchGuard solutions, right? Because I mean, for example, if you don't have enough licenses, if the protection is down, if there is a malware incident happening in this machine, any critical issue where you need to pay attention, we will change the status icon and we will show you here the proper information, right? So this is part of the health checking that we are doing in the RMN integrations, right? But I think that one of the most important use cases that we cover with the RMN integrations is the installation of our solutions through the policies and the scripting capabilities that the RMN products have, right? So if you search here by WatchGuard, right, you can find a script for installation of the Windows agent, right? These scripts and these options are automatically available in Enable Central once you install the plugin that we implemented for this RMN integration, right? So here you can select the API KPI. All these things can, as part of the integration implemented, right? You fulfill all these fields that are required by Enable Central, and once you do that, you select the target, right? Maybe you want to start installing the agent, the point agent in the laptops or whatever you decide, right? And finally, you select the schedule, right? Maybe you want to do an installation now in those endpoints, or maybe you want to establish a recurring installation, right, for all these endpoints, right, with all the granularity that is offered by the RMN solutions, right? So this is one of the main use cases covered with the RMN integration, right? You can install our agent automatically in all the endpoints that you are already managing with your RMN solution. It could be Enable Inside, it could be ConnectWise RMN, it could be Enable Inside, NinjaOne, ConnectWise Automator, Casilla. In all these endpoints, we are covering the integration, right? The scope of the integration in this RMN integration is a little bit different depending on the RMN solution, but in all the cases, the deployment, that it can be manual or automated with recurring tasks, is supported, right? But I wanted to show you how it looks like the integration in Enable Inside, right? Also, as part of the integration, you can also launch actions such as scans or isolation or these kind of things, right? I mean, the idea is that some of the most important actions, you can do it directly from Enable Inside, so you can save time without the need of switching between different solutions to manage some important aspects on the endpoints, right? One additional comment that is not the primary objective of this webinar, but one additional comment that I wanted to add here is that the agent that we are installing with the RMN solutions is a single WatchGuard agent that is being expanded to all the WatchGuard solution, right? So the agent that it was used in our endpoint security solution now is also being used by our FarCloud solution, our SASE solutions, and it's being expanded to Open Logon App and other components that we need to install on the endpoint, right? So we are creating a single WatchGuard agent for all our solutions, and this single WatchGuard agent is the one that is being deployed with the integration that we have implemented with the RMN solutions. So that's what I wanted to share about the RMN integrations. If you have any questions here, please add those questions in the chat. And I don't know, Stephen, if we want to do now any.
Yep. Bear with me. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Manu. Yeah, so great stuff. So just to talk a little bit about what we're doing on the RMM integration side of the house, and Manu, really appreciate you walking us through the Enable platform there. we today are integrated with several of the leading RMM tools on the market today, right? So ConnectWise, Kaseya, Enable, Ninja One, existing integrations with all of them, and allow you to deploy, as Manu said, the endpoint security solutions. But really what we're deploying there is that WatchGuard agent, that single agent where we're having the expansive endpoint requirements for all of our security tools in one easy to deploy agent, right? So with our integration, you can deploy these agents at scale, as he just demonstrated. You can reduce the tool switching, as he explained, right? And you can launch those on-demand scans, right? Apply configurations, all of that good stuff that Manu just really showed within the tool and talked about, right? And this is just really powerful story for how you can manage WatchGuard solutions today. Anything you'd add there?
No, I think this is a perfect summary, Stephen.
Okay, great. So yeah, we'd like to ask a polling question to the audience. So if my friend Liz, if you could fire this one off, and we're just curious which RMM tools you're using today, right? We want to make sure that we are, delivering the right integrations at the right time and providing value in that way. So I'd love to just get your feedback on what you're using today. Oh, okay. So we only got really one response so far. I really appreciate if we get a couple more responses from folks, but if not, we'll move on here in a little bit. So far, we're just saying one response here. Okay. Yeah, so, we had the only response was Datto. So yeah, thank you for that feedback. If you're using something else that wasn't on the list, please drop that in the chat. We'd love to know. Again, we're always looking to integrate and deliver value. And so if there's one we're missing in our priorities, please let us know. And with that, I think we'll pass it to you again, Manu, to talk about PSA and some of that demo.
Yeah, thank you, Stephen. Yeah, let me share my screen again. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the PSA integration at this moment, right? I don't know if all of you have a PSA, are using a PSA or not, but what I see is that the MSPs, especially in US and in New Zealand, Australia, and some areas, all MSPs are using the PSA to manage and provide security service in an efficient way, right? In Europe, I am seeing many MSPs as well, but maybe the percentage is about 50% or so, right? And I really believe that this is a very interesting tool to be efficient and to deliver better security services, right? So the integration that we have implemented is what I'm going to show you now. We support at this moment ConnectWise Manage and Autotask PSA. And the way it works is the next, right? The first thing that you need to do is to enter the credentials, right? Of course, in all the integrations is the same, right? You need to have the API credentials so we can connect with the PSA, so we can fetch information about the ConnectWise accounts. And the idea is that you need to map the accounts that you are managing in your PSA with the accounts that you are managing in our platform, in our unified security platform, right? So this is mandatory as we will send information we will upload information to the PSA based on this mapping, right? So if we create a ticket, we need this mapping to create a ticket for this specific customer, right? If we upload information for billing purposes, we need to upload to the proper customer, right? So we need this mapping, right? So this is the first step. And by the way, the mapping is done automatically as long as the name is the same in ConnectWise, the account name is the same in ConnectWise or in your PSA, ConnectWise or Autotask, than in WatchGuard Cloud, right? Regardless of the capitals. So the second step is to map services. And you need to follow this step, the map service step, if you want to leverage the automated billing capabilities. So what you need to do here is to map the services that you are selling through your PSA. In ConnectWise, manage are the agreements. In Autotask PSA are the contracts. We fetch this information here automatically, right? And you need to map the services that you are selling in your PSA with the products, with the security products in WatchGuard Cloud that you are using to provide those services, right? So for example, I mean, if you have a service that is multi-factor authentication in your PSA, probably you need to map this service with multi-factor authentication in WatchGuard Cloud, right? Because it's the product that you use to provide that service, right? Once you do the mapping of the accounts on the service in this tab, in the user report tab, you need to enable the cloud products license use if you want us to upload information about the licenses used by your products in the PSA, so you can bill automatically to your customers, right? And let me show you that, right? If I go to finance agreements, right? That is where you have your contracts, the services that you are providing to your customers, right? If I go to additions, you can see here that in quantity, there is a number here of 66. So what we did here is to upload information here that you are using 66 licenses of Outpoint in this customer for this service. So this information that is in the quantity is the information that is used by the PSA to invoice automatically, to bill automatically to your customers. Even if you are not invoicing automatically to your customers, I think that this is interesting information to upload in your PSA, because I mean, you can control the cost, right? You can know the number of licenses that you are using with your customers and with the different products that you use in WatchGuard Cloud to deliver the security services that to your customers, right? So you can upload this information in a specific day of the month, right? Imagine that, I mean, I know partners that they invoice to their customers based on the number of licenses used on a specific day on the month. So then in this case, this option is the one that they should use, or you can download this information on a daily basis, right? Whatever you decide, right? This works for every license type you use, right? You can use term licenses, you can use subscription that is billed by use, and in that case, we will upload information of the user licenses to the PSA, right? Here in the user report tab, there is also another option that it can be interesting for you, right? So if we click here, we will upload automatically information about all the fireboxes and access points that you are managing in WatchGuard Cloud. We will upload this information in the asset management section in your PSA, right? So if you go to companies, configurations in ConnectWise, right? Here are the assets, right? So you can see here that all the firebox and access points, right? You can see here all the information that we are uploading, right? The model of the firebox. This can be interesting to know the model of the firebox that our customers are using in case you want to upgrade those model. You can see the firewall version. That's interesting if you want to know if some customers have an old firewall version that you want to upgrade soon. You can see here when the firewalls are expiring, right, to identify any renewal coming soon, and many things. And you can use these access in whatever option where you need to use those access in your PSA, right? So we have seen automated billing with PSA, we have seen asset management, and the third option that is implemented as part of this PSA integration is the PSA ticketing, right? And probably this is the most interesting one for most of the partners using a PSA, right? So one important thing to mention here in PSA ticketing is that it's multi-tenant, right? And with that, what I mean is that you can configure the events for which you want tickets, the event to tickets slide that Stephen was mentioning before, in a very easy way, right? You just select here the events for which you want us to create tickets, and you select here the customers for which you want us to create those tickets, right? So you can select all accounts if you want to create tickets in your PSA for all your customers. So easy, right? It couldn't be easy, right? You just need to select all accounts and the events, and that's it, right? With that, we will be creating the tickets in the PSA. You can see the tickets here in service decks, service board. You will see, you can see here some tickets, right? Virus detected, intrusion attempt detected, and so on and so on. And what is important to highlight here is that we implemented this using closed loop ticketing, right? Stephen was talking about this in before, and I want to highlight how important is this, right? So let me show you an example, right? So if I create a ticket for an exploit, right? We are going to create just one ticket for this attack, right? I mean, if this attack, if something is happening about this attack, right? For example, I am isolating the device. Let me show you threat scene. That is the section in WatchGuard Cloud where we centralize all the detections. All the telemetry is sent to threat scene, which is our XDR platform integrated in WatchGuard Cloud, where all the telemetry is sent, all the incidents is sent, right? So if I go here up to threat scene, right, to see all the incidents of my products, right? If I go to an incident, let me select this one, the Mimikatz, right? So this is an incident, right, where maybe I decide to isolate the device where this incident is impacting, right? So if I isolate the device, the ticket will be automatically updated here, right? So we will add here in the notes that the device was isolated, right? But at the same time, if I decide to close this ticket, this incident, because I think that it's already solved, right? If I close the ticket here, right? Change the status. What it will happen is that automatically the ticket will be closed here, right? In the status, we will show here close it, right? And this is super important, right? Because instead of creating multiple tickets for the same issue, we are creating just one ticket, and this ticket is updated in the description and in the status whenever it is necessary, right? So let me put you another example, right? If I go here to PSA ticketing and I search for endpoint events that are reported to the ticketing system, protection down, right? The protection down is, I mean, it refers when the protection is not working properly, right? But imagine that the problem is solved because you restarted the computer or you reinstalled the protection, right? What it will happen is that the ticket will be closed automatically in the ticketing section, right? So with that, you can save a lot of time because you don't need to pay attention to the tickets because those will be closed automatically when required, right? And the other thing that I wanted to highlight here is that the granularity of the ticketing section, right? So you can, for every ticket, you can select, right, the service board where you want us to create the ticket. I mean, we know that you can have different workloads defined for every service board. So we give you the option to select the service board here, of course, the priority, right? And also we give you the option to map the new and closed status. What it means here is that when we open a ticket, we will open it with the status you put here. And when we close a ticket, because the incident is closed or the protection is now up and running or whatever is happening, you can select here the status, right? You can, for example, create a status in your PSA that is closed by WatchGuard, right? So, and you can select that here. So in that way, you will realize in the PSA that that ticket was closed by us, and maybe you want to do a final review or whatever you consider, right? So well, this is the ticketing part. I think it's important also to highlight that we implemented ticketing events for the whole portfolio, right? You can see here that you can create tickets for the renewals, right? When some licenses are expiring. You can create tickets for threat scene incidents, that is our XDR integrated in WatchGuard Cloud, where all the detections of all the products are there, right? And when we correlate all the telemetry, you can create tickets for FireCloud, our SASE solution. You can create tickets for endpoint, and you can create tickets for Fireboxes, our Nexus solution, right? In this case, this is in gray because I don't have in this demo account active licenses for Firebox, but I mean, there are many events that for which you can create tickets in your PSA. For example, cluster failover, one failover, or if the firewalls are not connected, right? And again, all of this is done in implementing cross-route ticketing, right? So if a firewall is not connected, we will create a ticket. If the firewall later is connected, we will close that ticket automatically for you, right? So all automated. So that's what I wanted to show you today. The last thing that I wanted to comment is that, I mean, we are now supporting ConnectWise Managed and Autotask PSA, and very soon we are going to support Halo PSA, right? You can see here in this instance that is an internal environment, right? That Halo PSA is here. The configuration will be the same, right? Mapping account, mapping services, and use report, as I showed before. The only difference in this PSA integration is that the properties that you configure in the ticketing part are a little bit different, because I mean every PSA has different options in the ticketing part in the PSA. So in this case, we are able to configure the SLA, the ticket type, that is a similar thing as the service word in ConnectWise, the ticket category, and the new and closed status, right? So this is coming very soon. The beta for Halo PSA is expected in a week, just in January 29th. And the release is expected at the end of February, right? So that's all I wanted to show in the demo. Any question, please, in the chat.
Great stuff. Thank you very much, Manu. That was great stuff to see. All right, so just to finish this up here on the presentation, as Manu said, if you have any questions on what you just saw, please do drop them in the chat. We will address them here in the next couple of minutes at the Q&A portion. Just wanted to finish up. Manu talked about, our coming integration with Halo PSA. We're all very excited about that. We know that there's a lot of partners that are using this today, and MSPs generally, and use it as their preferred PSA. We also have existing Autotask and ConnectWise integrations, as Manu mentioned, right, that really support all the great capabilities that he just walked us through. And that brings us to our final polling question today. And Liz, if you'll help me out here, putting this up on the screen for us. But what PSA tools are you using today? We're just, again, similarly as to the RMM question, we're curious on where you're putting your investment and how that aligns with our strategy. And we'd like to have some, some mutual interest there. So yeah, please take the time and respond here to the polling question, please. And we'll take a look. Okay, some answers coming in here. All right, cool. Give about 15 more seconds. We got 2 responses so far. I'd love to see a couple more if you don't mind. Okay. Okay, so the 100% said Autotask PSA. That's great because obviously we're there. We're integrated with Autotask. That's something that we've been there for a while. So if there's any others that are not on this list that you are using, again, please drop them in the chat. Very interested in learning more about how you're using RMM and PSA solutions today. Okay, so just whoops, let me jump back into my presentation here, and we'll finish this up here. So just to finish out the presentation on really why WatchGuard, right? Manu just showed the integration between our WatchGuard cloud solution and RMM and PSA tools. And one of the things that he said that I think it's really important to emphasize here is that this is the whole portfolio, right? It's not just our endpoint security products and not just our firewalls, right? It's really all of the security solutions that WatchGuard offers today in the portfolio, integrated into both of those platforms, right? And if you're unfamiliar with WatchGuard, we really have a comprehensive portfolio of security solutions across the network, be it physical or cloud or virtual firewalls. We have network detection and response response. We have SD-WAN, VPN, obviously, zero trust and SASE capabilities. We also have a very robust Wi-Fi and secure Wi-Fi portfolio, again, under that same WatchGuard cloud umbrella. We have a very deep endpoint security product solution set, everything from an entry-level EDR, EPP type of solution to a very advanced, really enterprise-grade solution with all the threat hunting you'd expect in our advanced EPDR solution. And then on top of that, we have things like patch management, encryption solutions that we can bring to bear in the same capabilities. And finally, identity. We talked about multi-factor authentication, very important technology for every organization today. We have a very strong MFA solution in AuthPoint today, as well as our dark web monitoring and some of the integrations with what we call credential access that allow us to build automated responses where we can disable users and block user access as part of our zero trust approach and XDR approach with ThreatSync. Right, and so we feed this all into that ThreatSync XDR engine that Manu showed you, really feeds and correlates all of these different detections in a very streamlined way, and then feeds them to your PSA platform. But we also have MDR and MSP services as well. So if you're looking for a more managed experience, really encourage you to look at what we're doing in the MDR space. We have not just an endpoint MDR covering, meaning we manage and monitor the endpoint security solutions for you, but we actually are doing this across our portfolio, again, looking at even firewalls and our NDR solutions as part of our total NDR offering. So we can offer a fairly holistic MDR service for you if that's something you're interested in. And Manu, talk to us a little bit about how this integrates with the unified security platform and why that's really important.
Yeah, I mean, so in this slide, we wanted to highlight the main integrations we have with the MSP software, right? The focus of the webinar today was PSA RMN, right? And I strongly recommend you to use these integrations if you have any of the PSAs or RMN tools that we were mentioning before. I mean, you know it better than us, right? I mean, the more you automate, the more margin you will get, right? And you can automate the deployment with the RMN solutions, right? And remember, you can deploy our single WatchGuard agent, right? That is not only used for endpoint security solutions, it's also used for our SASE solutions. It's going to be expanded for other components, right? The benefit is huge for you, right? You can automate the billing with the PSA, right? You can also automate the workflows about how to manage the different tickets with the PSA integration, right? And everything is integrated for all our products, right? So I really, really recommend you to use those integrations. And please, if you use any of the integrations we have implemented and you have any feedback, please don't hesitate to give us feedback through the WatchGuard Cloud Console in give feedback in the give feedback option, or directly to our ACs or account managers if you want. I am also happy to have a call with any of you if you want to talk about any specific topic or give direct feedback, right? I am always happy to learn from you, right? Apart from the RMN and PSA integrations, we have, as I mentioned before, more than 140 third-party integrations that are available in the partner ecosystem portal. If you search for that in Google, you will find it very quickly, right? And we also have an API for many things that you can automate, right? For example, an API to create subscriber customers accounts in WatchGuard Cloud automatically, an API to allocate licenses automatically, an API for many of the features available for our endpoint security solutions, and many other things, right? So if you want to create customized integrations, you can use our APIs fully documented in our website, and we really understand that. I mean, you need us to be integrated with the main tools you are using. We are responsible to integrate our security solutions. That's what we are doing in order to avoid kind of siloed solutions, in order to offer the best possible security approach to our customers using some of our solutions. But we also have clear that we need to keep on working on third-party integrations, and that's what we are trying to do, right?
Yeah. Good stuff. Thank you. So just want to finish up with a quick slide and talking about some of the partner success that we've seen. And this is actually a case study of a specific partner that's worked with WatchGuard for over 5 years, right? And they really saw, like many of you probably see, that there's just an escalating sophistication of the threats that their customers were exposed to, right? Everything from zero-day and ransomware types of attack, the things that keep you up at night. And they understood that as they manage their customers' environments, they typically arrived with a patchwork of legacy tools, right? Everything was very fragmented. There's a lot of visibility gaps across the various stacks, right? So they needed to simplify operations and improve protections by standardizing, right? I started off the presentation talking about standardizing process, standardizing packaging, right? That's really what their focus was. And so they had a relationship with WatchGuard, and they came to us. They said, look, we're delivering your firewalls today. We know you have a broader portfolio. Help us understand how we can leverage that, right? And so what they realized is they could deploy endpoint security, identity with our multi-factor authentication, as well as their network security solutions on the firewall and NDR, all from our WatchGuard cloud platform. And once they recognized that the operational efficiency that could deliver for them, they really committed to that as part of his strategy. And so over 5 years, they've had a year-over-year growth of around 150%. They're deploying 30 to 40% faster, right? Spending much less time on vendor management because, again, they've consolidated to us. They estimate they've saved around 60 hours a year on license administration alone. And really, I think most importantly for us WatchGuardians here, right, a 96% retention among their WatchGuard users. So, when they deploy these solutions, they're also very sticky in those environments. People like the experience, and they're likely to sign on again. And so ultimately, they're now doing 300,000 to 400,000 per quarter, when before they were just doing around 40,000 in business, right? So dramatic improvement and growth. And so this is what we love to do. This is what wakes us up in the morning. It's excited here at WatchGuard, is having these types of successes. And again, we point to that pyramid I started the presentation with. This is an example of them climbing that pyramid to security maturity and using WatchGuard as a partner to help them get there. So with that, I think we'll open it to some questions. Really appreciate you joining us today. Hopefully you found this information valuable. I'll stop sharing my screen and we'll take a look in the chat. If you do have any questions, please drop them in there and we'd be happy to address them live for you.
Yeah, I see a question in the chat, Stephen. Sven is asking if we have an integration implemented with that data element, right? Yep. Because we have the Kaseya BSA, but and the answer is not. That data element contacted us some time ago because they wanted to monitor our security, our endpoint security solutions, and in the same way that they are monitoring other endpoint security leader solutions, right? So they are monitoring our endpoint security solutions as part of their solution. We also were in conversations with them to share with them some scripts that they wanted to add in their Connect store. I know they have a Connect store with different components. So I'm not 100% sure if those scripts are still there, but there were some scripts that we shared with them to deploy our endpoint security solutions through that element, right? Said that, I think that element is the one that we are missing of the most important element vendors out there. So it's in our backlog. It's something that I think that we will address a tighter integration at some moment, right? Thank you for the question. Yeah.
Great question. Thank you. All right. Any other questions from folks? All right. Well, if you do have any additional questions, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn, to Manu on LinkedIn if you like. Always like to build those relationships with folks and continue the conversation. Again, very much appreciate you attending today. This will be posted on demand, so feel free to share. But thanks you very much and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you very much. Take care. Bye.